A special focus at this hour, something that NDTV has been committed to in the past decade. Well, it's air pollution season yet again. Punjab fields have already begun to turn black, and Punjab skies smoky, and the impact is clearly visible here in the national capital, with haze enveloping the national capital skies, and of course air quality dipping to poor and very poor levels. Where does the buck stop? What about our right to breathe healthy air? That's what we're asking on the show tonight. With me on the program, Reena Gupta, national spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. I'll also be joined by Bhavrin Kandhari, environmentalist and member, My Right to Breathe, somebody who's been committed to the cause of air pollution. I'll also be joined by Abhishek Kar, senior program lead of CEEW. Reena Gupta, first to you. You see, another year and similar scenes. Punjab fields are yet again on fire. Do you think the Aam Aadmi Party's claims have failed? Because we still see farmers have no access to alternatives, alternative crops. They still don't have access to balers and seeders, and they're helpless. So in a sense, Aam Aadmi Party's promises have failed, and the ball is in your court because you have a government in both states. All right, we'll try and reconnect with Reena Gupta. Abhishek Kar, lead of CEEW, is also with us. Mr. Kar, how do you look at this? Because every year we have a fresh winter action plan, the graded response action plan kicking in as well. But little has changed on the ground, whether it's Punjab or Delhi. In Punjab, farms are on fire, and in Delhi the impact is clear.
You're right. And I think let's try to understand the viewers. It's a complex problem. If it had a simple solution, it would have been done.
Yes.
For studies after studies have shown that if farmers have access to technology, if it is available, if it is affordable, and if they perceive that using those technologies is not going to harm their future crops, they are going to adopt it. So we cannot, given the scale of the problem, what we should focus on is, are we doing better compared to last year? And if you're doing better, how better it is, and how do we plan for the next year? And as the crop burning season is picking up, we need to focus on doing some concrete steps. For example, the Punjab government has got this iCare application. How many people are using it? Would it be better if this kind of, instead of having another new app out of 100 apps which people are already using, can we try to leverage some of the more popular platforms which people already use? Be it WhatsApp, be it Facebook.
It's the same case with the biodecomposer technology as well, because even though the Aam Aadmi Party says that stubble fires have come down, stubble burning has come down, the burnt area is still very high. Over 30,000 acres of land was still burnt last year. And Bhavrin Kandhari is with us also on the broadcast. Bhavrin, as we were discussing earlier as well, this problem needs round-the-year attention and not just at the onset of the pollution season.
Absolutely, Vedant. That's the point. I mean, if we are all calling it a public health emergency, we're losing close to 54,000, people. They die of air pollution. This is a study from 2020, and every third child in Delhi, as you know, has damaged lungs. These are all facts and figures that we've got from scientists, and that's why parents like us who are always concerned that why is it that all year round we do not work on a systemic change, which is good policy, and that needs to be said. That means drafted as well as then implemented. So, for example, these are small. I'll just give examples of there's so many of them. That why is it that we are talking of apps right now when we need people? First of all, there are vacant posts in various pollution boards all over the country.
That's a very important point, that boots on the ground are more important than, apps cannot replace boots on the ground, as you said earlier as well. Exactly. That's a very important point there. And Reena Gupta is back with us. Ms. Gupta, as I was asking you earlier as well, the ball is in the Aam Aadmi Party's court. Your promises have failed, whether it's in Delhi or Punjab. Punjab farms are on fire yet again. The farmers do not have access to alternative crops. They do not have access to balers and seeders. I mean, where does the buck stop?
Vedanta, pollution is a North India problem. It is not just a Delhi problem. As we are speaking today, the AQI of Bahadurgarh, Noida,
Ms. Gupta, let's not go
Ghaziabad,
into 50
Meerut.
different directions and
Can you
keep
let
our
me
focus
speak?
to Delhi and
If
Punjab.
you have called me on your program, please allow me to speak. Otherwise, don't call me.
Go ahead.
Let me complete my statement first. So the AQI of all of these cities, which are across states, whether it's Punjab, Haryana, UP or Rajasthan, the AQI goes down across North India. And it's not like you can create a boundary around any state. The whole of North India, the whole of Indo-Gangetic Plain has to come together and has to agree on a plan on how do we solve this pollution crisis. Delhi government is the only government that has come out with a winter action plan. Have we heard anything from what UP is planning to do, what Haryana is planning to do, or what Rajasthan is planning to do? So unless all of the states come together every year in the winter season, we will continue to come on TV channels and continue to discuss the same issues. I can talk about a number of steps that the Delhi government has taken. We have made sure that all of our polluting power plants have been shut down. We have made sure that we move all of our industry to clean and natural gas. We have made sure that we have 24/7 electricity, so there are no diesel sets in Delhi. However, if you move just
that's a
outside
completely
Delhi,
fair point, and I
Noida
take your point that pollution is a North India problem. We cannot restrict it to Delhi or Punjab. But coming back to the question of Punjab, where Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann has talked about crop diversification, has talked about biodecomposer technology, but the fact of the matter is that on the ground little has changed. Farmers still have to resort to stubble burning.
So last year, the incidence of stubble burning in Punjab was 30% less. This year, it's been a three-pronged strategy. One, we focused a lot on crop diversification. We were encouraging farmers to move away from paddy. Secondly, we are focusing on growing short-term variety of paddy so that there is enough time for the stubble to be cut and the farmers don't have to burn it.
Okay.
And third is in situ and ex situ removal of the stubble. So that is the three-pronged approach. But as we all know, that as far as farmers are concerned, these are traditional practices and you cannot change them in 1 year. And we are seeing some success in the last year. This year, we hope we'll see more success.
Fair point.
However,
Abhishek, come in on this point. Do you think farmers need to be incentivized more? And as Reena Gupta is saying, it's difficult for the farmers to move away from traditional practices quickly. So, do they need to be incentivized more? What is the way forward?
Right. I think we would go for two approaches. One, of course, there is a need for financial incentives, especially if you think of ex situ, because the procurement centers and the location of the village, the distance between it matters a lot. If it is within 5 kilometers, the cost of transportation is very different compared to if it is more than 50 kilometers. And often the incentives are at a state level, but it should perhaps be done at a panchayat level to ensure that this distance issue is taken care of. Second and very important thing is the issue of perception and behavior change.
Yes.
As Reena ji has said earlier, that it's very important to think about that people are changing a habit. It has been a traditional way of doing things. Plus, when you're putting a new technology, there's always this fear of the unknown. So if you're telling,
so grassroots awareness is also extremely important when it comes to, actually making sure that farmers know about alternative crops, know about viable options like having balers and seeders. But another fact is that they say that they can't afford it. But Bhavin Kandhari, now coming to what's happening in Delhi, of course, stubble burning is one of the reasons. But other than that, vehicular pollution, industrial pollution also make up for a significant chunk of the pollution that we see in the national capital. Are you in a sense satisfied with the government's response? Because as we were discussing earlier as well, why do we have to come to a stage where the graded response action plan has to be implemented?
Yes, of course. You cannot say that there's nothing being done. There's lots being done, but it needs to be considering that what I just said. If I know my child is breathing toxicity as you and I speak, and we continue to do that, they're turned 20, but I've been fighting this battle 25 years, but they still have damaged lungs. So there is, there's this sense of urgency, and that is what we need. The intent is there, but it needs to be put into implementation now. Like in the morning also I gave an example, like something very good that the Delhi government, announced a couple of years ago, that we must have AQI monitors on all construction,
Yes.
areas. But
And at
it's
least
not
we're
being
talking
done.
about
So there's
AQI.
so
That's
many
been, I
things
think,
we're
a
talking
sea
about it.
change.
But then it's not good enough, because so much time goes by, and things. So these are the kind of things that are being said out clearly, which have never been before this, and they are talking about it, but then it needs to be implemented, and that
Absolutely.
urgency
And
needs
as
to
you
be
said,
there.
Bhavreen, the intent is there. And that is something that has been acknowledged, Reena Gupta, that the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party is talking about AQI. But, while Arvind Kejriwal and his government has been committed to pollution, I mean, we go back to the odd even plan, and then of course we have these annual winter action plans as well. Do you think it's going from one emergency to another emergency? Do you think there needs to be a more sustainable and long-term plan in place?
See, Vedant, I've always said that we need to learn from what China did. China had a plan at the regional level. In the same way, the central government needs to get all the state governments together and agree on an annual plan, a plan which needs to be measured. You should say that Delhi needs to reduce its PM2 point level by X and X percentage. And if Delhi does that, Delhi delivers on that, Delhi gets additional allocations from the central government. This is what China did. You need to have measurable, time-bound targets. Without that, I don't see anything changing. Delhi government is very, very conscious, and that is the reason why you see a number of steps being taken in Delhi. However, 70% of Delhi's pollution originates from outside Delhi.
Yes.
So there is only so much one can do. And just going back to what Abhishek ji was saying about the farmers, incentivizing farmers is one of the most important things that we can do. And last year, the government of Punjab had submitted a plan where they had proposed that we will buy back the stubble from the farmers from their farm step. But for that, we needed budget from the central government, which we did not get.
So essentially the point you're making is that the central government also has to, step in somewhere and bring together governments from across states, from across North India, because as you rightly pointed out, it's a North India problem and not just restricted to the national capital. But Abhishek, talk to us about the ramifications of the kind of toxic air that we are exposed to, because as we've been talking about, and many studies have established the link between air pollution and toxic air with antibiotic resistance, and of course cancer causing PM 2.5 pollutant has been an extremely concerning challenge as well. What are the health ramifications when it comes to air pollution?
Right. And I think we can always think about the short-term health impacts and the long-term health impacts. And studies have kind of conclusively proved that if someone is exposed to, if there are two people, with similar background health conditions, and one is exposed to high levels of PM 2.5 over many months and years, their risk of getting lung cancer, asthma, they significantly increase. And I think the science is pretty clear about it. But I think the more important thing is, what do we do about it? Because the science is saying this happens, but what next?
Yes.
And I think it's very important, because if you think of the people who are more exposed versus who are less exposed, people who have access to air purifier, they can also afford better healthcare.
And
they also have access to better
elderly and children,
healthcare.
particularly the elderly and children,
Right.
they're most vulnerable when it comes to this. Bhavreen, what
But
about
but I think it's very important to understand that is the poor people
Yes.
who don't have access to air purifier, and they also don't have good access to preventive healthcare. So it is very important that during the winter months there is more effort from both the at the central and the state level governments to ensure that that the poor people have better access to shelters,
the homeless
especially on
and the
days.
poor? That's an important point there. Bhavreen, Abhishek said, what next? What according to you is that?
Again, I will concentrate only on the government will have to lead. They will have to lead with very good policy and then implementation.
Yes.
A city which is a city for people, for not for vehicles. A city which is for the health of our people, not for our own various facts of cutting trees.
So focusing on the larger picture is what you're saying. I just have 30 minutes remaining. Reena Gupta, the last word to you. As the representative of the ruling party, what is your message to the people of Delhi as we enter the peak pollution season?
I think I agree with all the experts that have the suggestions that they've given on your panel. We are investing very heavily in public transport,
Yes.
and you will see more and more buses and more electric buses on the streets of Delhi. So all I want to say is that let's all come together, all the state governments of North India, under the leadership of the central government. Let's have a plan. And let's have a plan for the whole year, for the next 5 years, for the next 3 years, for the next 2 years.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, year after year, we will sit on these panels and discuss the same issues without any end in sight.
All right, that's a good note to end this panel on. And as Reena Gupta said, this is something that we need to rise above political differences. It's a public health emergency and requires immediate focus. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us on this very important discussion.